Hello, welcome to the Digital Nomad Experts podcast by Commute. Today you've got me and Jeff, and we are super excited for this episode. It's another one that is near and dear to our hearts, and this one is how to find remote job listings that let you travel. Pretty much why we exist here at Commute. You are here to travel the world. We are here to help you find a remote job so that you have the income, the freedom, the time to travel. And as we always say, the quickest, fastest, and easiest way to get that freedom to travel is to get a remote job with a company that already exists. Yes, you can be an entrepreneur, you can be a freelancer, but the income is not as reliable. And if you're just ready to start traveling the world, the quickest way is to find that job. So here today, we are ready to talk about that, how to help you find these remote jobs. And the reason this topic is so important and it is simple but not easy is because the world of remote job listings is the Wild West. I know Jeff will pop in with me in a second to talk about it, but there's a fact that says that about 50% of job listings in general, and this applies to remote jobs as well, are scam listings. I was talking to a client yesterday, actually, who was talking about this to say every time they go to look for remote jobs, the jobs aren't actually real. And why would they do this? So there are recruiters out there who just post scam listings to get your contact information. It's really unfortunate. We wish that there was more regulation in this industry. There is not. So when you go on job boards, 50% of them are going to be scam listings. Another large percent of them are going to say that they're remote, and you're going to get excited, but they're remote from your home, from your city, from your country, and they don't actually give you permission to travel. So these all exist out there, and they really do take up the bulk of the job listings, even when you go to those remote job boards. So with that, this is what we specialize here at Commute. We help people find remote jobs. We help you find these remote jobs that actually let you travel. So we're going to break down a little bit how we do that on the back end. We're going to talk about 4 steps that we follow for the jobs that we find and search and share with you. But before we do that, Jeff, any other thoughts on just the landscape of the job boards, the quote remote listings? Anything you want to add, some spice to it? This is a feisty topic for us before we jump in.
It's very deceiving because there are so many remote job boards out there, and you'll think opening up one of these, you'll see thousands of job listings at any given time. They all say remote on them. Hop on LinkedIn, put in whatever your specialty is, and hit the remote toggle button, and you get 10,000 listings. But the problem is it's a total mirage, right? You can actually, for all the reasons that you just listed, you can spend hours every single day going through these, and you will not find an appropriate listing that actually lets you travel and live this lifestyle as a digital nomad. So it's so frustrating to put in it's like this feeling when you're working and you're just spinning your wheels. You're doing the same thing over and over again, and you're not getting anywhere. Yeah. But you can see it right in front of you, but you just can't grab it. That's the experience with remote job boards, and it almost feels like a bit of fraud when they're listing these things in such a way. It actually is kind of fraud when they're not actual listings and they're just harvesting your information. So we're going to basically walk you through a blueprint on how to identify a good job listing, one that's actually appropriate, that'll let you travel step by step by step. And there's a bit to it, but this is the DNA to finding these right job listing. So hopefully this episode's going to help, and eventually we should convert this into like a thing, like a PDF or something. It's like, all right, what do I look for? All right, step 1, step 2, step 3 kind of thing. So really excited to get into this one. Like Marisa said, this is like a passion top. This is why we exist. We're trying to right a wrong out there right now and make it less of the wild west.
We just want you to travel.
We just want a little bit of transparency. A little bit of transparency out there so that you can get out there and travel without all that hassle.
Yeah, perfect. So with that, we'll jump right in. So if you Google, there's a million remote job boards out there. There's a million job boards, but if you even just go and do a quick Google search for remote job boards specifically, you'll find lists of 7 remote job boards, 10 remote job boards, 100 remote job boards. They're not hard to find. Go out, check them out. It's not even worth getting into because we're going to talk about, even as Jeff said, if you go on LinkedIn, you can do the toggle for remote listings. You can go on Google and type in remote job listings. So there's tons out there. That's, I guess, just like the first step. Maybe you were aware of that, maybe you weren't, but just do a quick Google search, find one. So this is going to be more of the detail of like, once you're on that remote job board, what do you do? So the first step here, and this one honestly kind of blew my mind. Like, even after years of being a career coach and knowing the industry, the fact that we have to say this one is like very upsetting, but it's true. So number one, you're on the remote job board. Let's say you type in your remote marketing job, your remote software developer, whatever it is you're looking for. You're already on a remote job board, or you toggle for remote. The first thing you want to do, as Jeff said, 10,000 listings are going to come up. You're going to get really excited. You want to check and see that this company is real and exists. Should we have to say this? We should not. This should not be a thing, but there really are scams. And I said this on a podcast episode, it was maybe a month or so ago. I was in Costa Rica. It was like, I got an email from LinkedIn that was like, here's some cool, just, I get all sorts of remote jobs because I like to follow and stay in the touch as if I'm, looking. And I saw these jobs that happened to be perfect for a client that I had for one of our Beach Commute members. And I sent it to someone on our team because, again, it was 6 a.m. And if you've listened to the podcast for a while, my brain does not work at 6 a.m. But I was just so excited. I forwarded it to someone on our team and I was like, hey, can you just double check that these are legit jobs, because these look like they would be perfect for this person. But before I get them excited, will you do the due diligence? And she wrote back a couple hours later when she woke up and she was like, FYI, I'm really sorry to break it to you, but this is not a real company. This is a complete scam. If you go and look, this company doesn't really exist. If you look at all the listings, the jobs don't really make sense for what they say they do. The company website looks weird. Everything was off. And again, I just hadn't looked. But again, it's just wild to me that when you see a remote job listing, you're going to be like, this is perfect. This is what I've been looking for. It sounds great. It looks cool. It sounds like I can travel anywhere. It sounds like the freedom. And you go and it's not even a real company. It doesn't exist. There's all sorts of jobs that don't quite make sense. It doesn't look like what it should. There's a website and it has listings, but it's not like a company website should look. It was a very generic website. It was white with some blue links and just jobs that you're like, what even is this company? Why are they hiring for these things? They just sound like cool jobs. So anyway, that's number one. I'll get into it some more, but any thoughts, I'll talk about how you can check and see that it exists, but any thoughts on that, Jeff, before we
I had a similar situation just last week. I was looking for a buddy who's looking for fractional CEO work, fractional CMO type of work. Right. And there was a job listing, looked perfect. I mean, everything, transparent pay, all the job responsibilities, all the qualifications, everything. Yeah. Not one listing of what the actual company was. So it was just a recruiting agency that was listing out this perfect job role and no reference to the actual company. So as I was looking through this thing, I was like, this might be no links to anything to read further on either. Yeah. No website, nothing. And it seemed to me as I was reading through it, Spidey senses clicking in is all right, why would they not? Wow. I mean, I know the recruiter wants to get the credit for it, right? Because they're going to get their commission if they hire somebody. But it's really, really dodgy, and it's one of those situations where I thought, oh, this is a perfect way to harvest people's information.
I love that you use the word harvest. I feel I think of harvesting organs.
It's data harvesting. Kind of the same.
It is.
Yeah, that's a thing. It's data harvesting. And they'd already had 100 applicants to it. So I don't know if this one was one of those situations, but I would say just kind of as a default, if you don't see the company and they've gotten, and you're not able to click through to anything where you can read about the actual company hiring, I mean, to me, it seems like at least a yellow flag, if not a total red flag, right?
Yeah, yeah. And to add to that, so I think that's good, where there might be that gray area or that yellow area, if you want to say. The one that I had actually had a company name. And if you Googled that company, it had a website. It just was a weird kind of blank-ish website.
That seems even worse.
It does. I was just don't put the name. I would have just, I don't know why they thought that was better, because it had a bunch of different, there was probably 20 different job listings and it was all very travel friendly, anything everyone would just sounds fun to do.
Scam.
So I would say, it's a scam. So the overall message for number one, when you check and see that the company exists, is one, if there's no company name, just probably avoid it. Unless I know in the days when I used to work at Pepsi, I'd have recruiters reach out to me all the time that were hey, we have this role. It's at this CPG company that works in this industry. They couldn't say the company name, which I get. And that was sort of a different story. And I could tell and it felt legit. But this is more of if you're just on a job board, if there's not a company name, or if you look at the website, you know what a company website should look like. If it's a legitimate company, you'll go on, they'll have their story, their about them, they'll have their products or how they make money. They'll have testimonial, whatever it is. Like, it should look like a legitimate website. If somebody's gone through all the trouble, like, I guess it's possible that you could still get there and still be scammed, but they're likely, I haven't seen people put in the work that way yet. Maybe that will start to happen. But I think the lesson here is, like, if there's a company name, check it out. Just go to the website. Does it feel like a legitimate company before you even take the next steps, which we'll talk about? And if there's no company name, unless you just have a real solid feeling about it. But if there's any sort of spidey senses, I love that you always say that, Jeff. Like, to me, it's that gut feeling where you're just like, this feels a little too good to be true. It probably is. Like, I think that's the message there. So that's number one.
Feels very harvesty.
If it feels harvesty to you, it probably is.
No harvesty.
I love this message, Jeff. Feels harvesty. Don't click on any harvesty jobs. Don't get your information harvested. I love it. Okay, so that's number one. And again, it's wild in this day and age that we have to say that, but I think it's interesting with remote job boards. We've talked about this some before too. It's not their responsibility. Like, they're not vetting companies the way that we are. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but it's like they exist for profit. They have a platform. And if someone is paying them to put a job listing up, they don't make sure the company exists first. It's just like they take the money, the jobs are posted. I mean, there's like millions of jobs. So they don't, how could they
There's no
vet
moderation.
them in that way?
It's Craigslist, basically. Like, you just, you just post whatever you want. And it's not their responsibility. It's buyer beware. And
yes, I think that's a great way.
Definitely buyer beware.
Yeah, I love that you said it's not their responsibility. They exist. They have a platform. It's not their responsibility to verify these companies. So yeah, 50% are probably just a scam, and be mindful of that. Okay, so that's number one, wild and true. Number two. This is the next step that we go through in our process here at Beach Commute before we share any jobs. So we check and see that the company is real, that exists, and then we want to make sure it's actually a good company to work for. So this is something, again, that you're not going to see on job boards. And if you're looking for jobs, like, you want to work for a good company with a good culture, with people who are kind, that pay you well. Like, that's the point for us here at Beach Commute. Like, we want you to have a good life, and to have a good life, we want you to have freedom to travel anywhere. And we also want you to work for good people who are going to treat you well. So the next step that we do is we often use a company or website called Glassdoor. And if you go to that website, you can type in a company name and it will have reviews, usually from real people who have worked at these companies. So if a company is really small, it's not, I will say, not all companies are going to be on there. So if it's like a 10-person company, it might not be listed on there. So it's not a total red flag if it doesn't exist on there, but it's just a good sort of like next filter to try out, because if it is like a despicable company, or they treat people horribly, or they're, whatever it is, they don't pay you after you've worked for them, whatever, right? Like, it's probably going to have some reviews on there. So think about Glassdoor as like the Yelp for companies. So when you go on, you type in the name of a company, and of course with anything, like, the people who have bad experiences are the ones who yell the loudest, right? The same as a restaurant. Like, just because it has like some terrible review from Karen doesn't mean that the restaurant is terrible. Like, you want to kind of do your due diligence. But if you see like review after review after review after review where they're like, this is terrible, the people are horrible, they don't pay you, the pay is terrible, they lied to me, they whatever, like, we don't want you working there. So we don't share companies that have bad reviews like that. So if you are putting in this work yourself, if you're going through the process, we highly recommend just do a quick search on Glassdoor, see what you find. Any thoughts there, Jeff?
There's a few other things to consider with Glassdoor. The first thing is, in order to actually give a review, you have to register with Glassdoor with like a legitimate email. So you're not going to see a bunch of bot reviews like you would with some other review websites. So there's that to consider. So there's a little bit more truth to it. You can trust it a little bit more. Another thing to consider is there are different categories in which each one of these companies are rated. So you've got an overall 1 to 5 stars. You're going to want to look for that. And generally, 3.5 stars and up, like ideally 4 stars and up, you're going to be in pretty good shape. And then there's subcategories that you want to look at. There's really, really important subcategories. Off the top of my head, I can only think of 2. One is work-life balance. Like, each one of these subcategories gets a 1 to 5 star review. So look for work-life balance, because you're not going to want one of those fast-paced culture type of thing where they say that and basically they're just going to try
You sound like such a boomer. You're not going to want one of those like fast-paced culture kind of places.
It's one of those just bad I'm sick of that marketing thing. It's fast-paced culture. It's just basically they're going to work you 12 hours a day, right? So like look for the work-life balance one. There's another one that's salary. So you get a general range of how happy people are with their salary. Again, 1 to 5 stars. And then there's a few other in there, but you can explore and see all of those things. Last thing to consider is that people can within the company be asked to, I know this is true, can be asked to review the company, right? Yeah. So they can be people stuffing good reviews into the company, and they can do this once per year. So as you're reading these reviews, read them very carefully, right? Make sure it's not perfect 5 stars, like on Google My Business, right? You look at that, should raise a bit of a red flag. You should see a mix of people like, okay, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star.
Right.
It shouldn't be perfect 5 stars all the way down with people giving the exact same type of qualitative written review. Look for specific stuff that people are saying in there about the job, who they're working for, the type of work that they're doing. Just use a good common sense to read it and say, okay, does this sound real to me? And as you start seeing very real, this is what my life looks like at this job, then you can get a little bit more confidence that the reviews are actually true.
Yeah. And it's the same like with like online shopping, right? It's like those reviews are sometimes you're like, this feels like, why are you using these buzzwords? Like this feels like a fake review, but I think it's still,
shopping on Amazon. Yeah, same
exactly.
thing.
I think about shopping as Amazon, but it's still good. So it's not a perfect system, right? But it's better information than nothing. And use your spidey senses, I feel like is the moral of the story as well. But yeah, so number 1, we're making sure the website exists, the company is real. Once you're certain of that, step 2 is going to Glassdoor, like doing your due diligence, seeing if you can, just making sure it feels like decent place to like kind of overall rating. Check out some of the other work-life balance, as Jeff said. So that's step 1 and step 2. Step 3, this is an important one if you want to travel, right? So I would say actually for step 1 and step 2, even if you're looking for a non-remote job, you're going to start there. Step 3 is as we're getting specific to, you want the freedom to travel the world while you work. You want the freedom to be a digital nomad, to live the way that Jeff and I live and the way that our whole Beach Commute community lives, where you can pop into any country, stay for a month, stay for a year, stay for 2 months, travel back home, do whatever you want. So this next one is to check the remote culture of that company. So you might say, well, how do you do that? So the companies that we share within our membership and our Digital Nomad daily membership is we go on to, so as you're on these websites, not only are we looking for it to be real, but if it's a company that really truly gives you the freedom to not just work remotely from your home, but travel to different countries, to different continents around the world, who gives you the freedom to say, like, I don't care if you're on a beach in Thailand or you're on a mountain in South America or you're visiting your parents in Nebraska, get your work done and we'll overlap in the right hours and we'll talk and it's cool. So we go to the website. And the companies who like really truly give you this freedom gladly usually have it written on their website somewhere. So whether it might be on their homepage, but at the very least, if you go to their careers page, they're going to talk about it because it's a great talking point to attract top talent. And they're going to say, we proudly have employees who are working from all over the world. Like, we are happy for you to work from anywhere you want. We love to give you the freedom to do this. 80% of our employees are traveling while they work, whatever it is. It's not like an exact phrase, but as I'm talking about these, you'll start to see examples of phrases that they're saying, and they're gonna proudly talk about it because, again, that attracts top talent. So if it's not written anywhere and it says remote, like, we do some digging, and on the back end, we actually now have a team of people who are reaching out to these, if it's like questionable to us and we're saying like, oh, it says remote from anywhere, but I'm not seeing it on the website. We actually send them an email. We reach out to them and we're seeing like from the horse's mouth, like, do you actually give people permission to travel? Because we don't want to share your jobs if you don't, essentially. So we do a lot of work on the back end. Sometimes it's very clear and easy to see, and those are the needle in the haystack companies that we love. And we have a list of those and we send them out. We only send those remote jobs that are hiring from those companies. And then we go one step beyond. If it's questionable, we'll do the work. So if you're doing this yourself, if you're going through this process, And your goal is to only apply to companies that truly give you the freedom to travel. Once you do step 1 and step 2, it's a real company. They look legit. Make sure you look at that website and see, like, are they saying on there somewhere, all the remote job listings saying remote from anywhere? Are they talking about, so I have a couple of things to add, but anything, Jeff, of just like thoughts of this one for number 3?
I've got a really good example of exactly what you're talking about. We interviewed a guy named Dmitry Kustov, and he's from Regex SEO. So it's an SEO agency. They provide search engine optimization services to companies, and they hire people that help do search engine optimization at all levels, beginning levels, mid-levels, high levels. When you go to their career page, you scroll down. I'm just going to read you a very quick blurb, the benefits. If you're looking for an exciting career opportunity with a company that values work-life balance, look no further. Our company is a 100% remote company. That means you have the freedom to work from wherever you choose. Right? That is exactly what you're looking for.
Like flag in the sand. Done.
Yeah. Create a better work-life balance. It also allows you to work from anywhere in the world. That is exactly the type of language that we're looking for in these companies, right? We're not looking just at individual job listings, which is kind of like a super great. We're looking at companies, right? These companies that have that embody the entire travel mentality, travel mentality, deliver quality results as opposed to being in a specific location. That's really, really important for us to Commute.
And there are some, I know our team does a lot of research, like some companies, like the one you just said, are just like 100% at, like, that's the dream, that's the goal, that's what we try to share the most, of like 100%, like there is no office, like you can't come into an office because there isn't one, everyone's remote, do what you want, be where you want, like that's the goal. A+, 5-star standard. We do sometimes share, like, and you said, Jeff, like that's the company, not just the listing. Every now and then we'll get companies that are sort of a hybrid where they might have an office and a lot of their roles can be remote from anywhere, and they'll say that in the role. And they'll have, like, if you looked at the careers page, let's say they had 15 job listings, some will say remote from anywhere, some will say remote from Romania, some will say remote from Germany, some will say remote from wherever, or like 20% of the time you must be in office. So there are some companies that are a hybrid, and I would still be open to those if you can go on and it clearly says, like in the job listing, like for this particular role, you can be anywhere. So that same sort of language you just shared on that homepage, sometimes that is specific, like job to job within a company. So again, it's going to be, I would say, all around better if you just have a 100% remote company, because then there's no like, you're in the office, I'm not, like we're here, we're there, it's complicated, it's hybrid, it's strange. But if you're just starting and the remote market is, it's competitive these days, I wouldn't avoid those, like those ones that you go and you're like, okay, this company looks cool, not everything's remote, but in this listing, they clearly are giving this freedom and saying it's okay to be anywhere, and I just, because of this role, don't have to be in office, I would still apply to those as well. So we do a lot of due diligence when we're sending out roles. Sometimes we'll send out in our membership, we'll say a company, like they might have 15 roles listed, and we'll say these 4 will let you travel anywhere. If you want to be remote from this country, cool, check out the other ones, but these specific roles will give you that freedom. So there's kind of like a way to look at both. But again, the gold standard that we mostly share is like the whole company is the freedom to remote work from anywhere.
Yeah, just a remote culture. It's kind of what we're looking for. Exactly.
Yeah, that's the best. And so with that, if this is sounding appealing to you, check out beachcommute.com/nomadjobs. So this will give you a little bit of a preview into some of those companies that we have already highly vetted, researched, done the work, found the remote culture, and are sending out these remote job listings. So if you are wanting to travel the world and you'd love to just receive these remote job listings, check out beachcommute.com/nomadjobs. You enter your name and email. We'll send you that information of 5 companies that are fully remote companies that are actually have job openings today. And as we said, there's one more step we'll walk through before we wrap up this episode. But I think the cool thing about what we offer is we're transparent here. Like, we'll tell you exactly how to do this yourself if you want to. And we will also tell you it is a full-time job, or I like to say at least a half-time job to a part-time job, whatever you want to call it, to do this work yourself. Like, it's not rocket science once you know what you're looking for and what we've just shared. But we have a team who spends hours and hours, literally every single day, tracking down these companies, researching the companies, looking at those websites, reaching out if we're not quite sure, and checking on Glassdoor. Like, we do all the vetting and all this research for you and deliver you only the companies that are actually these high quality companies that are, remote freedom, that have active job listings that day, and we send them to you. So again, you can do this yourself. You're welcome to. We're sharing how. But if you want to take the easy route, which we love here at Beach Commute, check out beachcommute.com/nomadjob. So any other thoughts on that, Jeff, before we go to step number 4?
I think it came down to an actual metric on how many of these jobs that you're looking up on job boards are digital nomad ready, digital nomad appropriate. Yeah. And it was like 1 to 5% or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you think about that, you have to look at about 100 job listings to find one that's actually going to let you live this lifestyle, right? So point. like you said, this isn't rocket science. There isn't some secret formula. While we are sharing a few steps that we take, it's not, it's a lot of common sense to it. It's just a ton of work. And what we're doing is we're eliminating a ton of work and frustration every single day of going through this. Because like we said, there's no regulation. It's the wild, wild west. And you have to sort through all of this junk to find the few good things. So we're just sending you just the good stuff, just to eliminate that part. So you can focus your time on the stuff that matters, like connecting with the people in the company and getting your foot in the door, polishing up your CV, your cover letter, all that kind of stuff. They're the things that are actually going to get you hired with these organizations, redirecting.
That's a good point. It's like you're literally looking at, if you look through 100 listings, imagine taking all these steps that we're talking about. You have to look at 99 of them, and then the 100th one is the one that lets you travel. We have a team that does that. So again, with the link we sent, you can opt into our email list, but we also have, it's called Digital Nomad Jobs Daily. We send an email every single Monday through Friday to people. So if you're interested in joining that, that's our paid membership, and highly recommend it. It's super helpful. People write into us all the time. They get remote jobs after following it, looking at it, going through it, getting inspired, seeing all the jobs that exist, and getting the freedom to travel the world. So that's the best part. So with that, number 4 here is the last step in the process, and that is making sure the job hasn't expired or that the listing date isn't really old. So one of the worst feelings that you can do, and sometimes you might not know, is like, okay, you've looked at 99 jobs, you found the 100th job, you see that the company exists, you check on Glassdoor, it's looking great, you check the careers page, you're like, oh my God, this company lets you work from anywhere, it's awesome, they promote this, the role itself is remote, and then you spend, we really recommend spending time to reach out to people, apply, like take your time to, it's not like the throw spaghetti against the wall and apply to 500 companies. Like, we want you to take your time, fill out a good application, reach out to people at this company. So you do all that work. And then the worst feeling is like, oh wait, this job has already been listed for 6 weeks. Like, that's already been filled or expired or it's done. So you want to make sure that the job listing hasn't expired. And my rule of thumb is like, if it's over, I would say 3 weeks is like really the max. Like, if the listing is 3 weeks old or longer, it's probably not in your best interest to take that time to apply to it. It's going to be better to find a job that has listed sooner. If it's something you're like so excited about, there's like, I can't believe this company exists. This is perfect for me, this role. I would do anything to do this. It might be worth sending an email and say, hey, send an email to that company. I see this job has been posted for a couple of weeks. I'm super interested in it, but I want to make sure, it basically, is it still open? And then go through the process of applying. So what we don't want is for you to see, like, if you go to job boards, there are, like, imagine if you went to Amazon to go buy something and you go and you search and you like find a product and it's like, oh, that's expired, it's sold out, like it doesn't exist. And you'd be like, what? Like, why is it here? But job boards aren't like that. So a company will post a listing and they don't take it down. Like, they forget, whether they forget to go back or it's still nice just to have applications roll in even when the job's been filled. You can go back and you'll see tons of expired listings of, roles that literally have already been filled. They're already ready, but they're still sitting there and they look like they're open and they look like you can apply to them. So it's just the last step in the process is like, ideally it's 2 weeks or less. If it's 3, like maybe. If it's 4 weeks or older, like just ignore it, pretend like it doesn't exist unless you're so excited about it, and it's worth reaching out to the company to you. So any thoughts on that one, Jeff?
Do you have a rule of thumb for number of applicants. Like when you're on LinkedIn, you see a job title and it shows, I think it always shows the number of people that have already applied. Sometimes you'll see it's 500. Sometimes you'll see it's like 50. Is that even something to take into consideration?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I would say if you are just applying blankly, and I mean like you see a listing, you submit your resume, you just submit whatever, you don't take the time, you've never reached out to anyone, it's probably pretty useless if there's hundreds of applicants that have already applied and you do the same. I would say like even if you are the most qualified, the most perfect for the job, every experience you have has led up to this moment and they would be lucky to have you. If there's hundreds of people, it does not matter if you, like, it's possible. I would say, like, you know, if it's one of those just like fill in the blank, it auto-populates, you can submit it, like, why not? But it's really rare to get those interviews. Not impossible. I had a client who messaged me the other day and said she actually did that and got an interview. She was highly qualified and it worked out. So it's not to say it never does. But if you're really genuinely interested in one of those jobs and it says 500, I wouldn't not apply to it, but what I would do is find real humans on LinkedIn who work for that company. And this is a whole process we teach. Like there's an art and a science to reaching out and how to get people to reply. But you want to reach out to individuals at that company. You want to get your foot in the door so that someone can know, like, and trust you, get to know you and say, oh, Jeff, I just talked to him. He seems really cool. There's 500 people who have applied, but I'm going to give his resume to the hiring manager or HR and say, I really think you should interview Jeff. And he'll probably get an interview if that's the case. So the point is, it's not impossible, but you really want to go through those human connections if you're super interested. If it's like not that worth your time and you're like, you know what, I might as well apply, like why not? But those are rarely accepted. So don't feel defeated if you're like, I've done that 100 times and no one's ever gotten back to me. Like it takes to go like that above and beyond. And if you're seeing hundreds, it's such a good question. If you're seeing hundreds, it's not that it's impossible, but it takes some unique like ways to sneak through.
Okay. Do we have any final tips? Any bonus tips for people?
I'm gonna eat it. I think that's where we'll leave it today. There's so much we teach, and if you're not on our email list, check out beachcommute.com/email because every now and then I'll teach master classes on like what do you actually say when you're reaching out to those real humans? Like how do you actually get an interview? How do you like? There's so many more steps to it. We have a course that we open up every now and then that teaches all of this. So just stay in the loop if this is something you're interested in. But at the very least, like I think these 4 steps are, you know, if we're thinking about the topic, just like how do you find those listings that let you travel? Like I could go in, as you know, for like hours and hours and hours and hours and like talk about all the other things. But for today's episode, I want to keep it simply there of like, that's how you find them. And if you want to eliminate that time of you having to do this yourself, check out beachcommute.com/nomad jobs. You'll get a little sample of what that looks like. And we highly encourage you to join that membership. Like there's a reason we charge for it because we have a whole team of people who are doing all these hours of work that you heard, but it truly is so helpful if you want to travel. And even if you're thinking about traveling, like maybe it's not today, but you want a new job and you want to travel in the next 6 months or the next year or so, start the process today because it is a process and it does often take 3 to 6 months to get that job. So if you join it, we have it as a 6-month membership for a reason because you want to check out the jobs and not every company is going to be the one you love, but maybe 7 days from now, like that's the one you love. And then 10 days from now, like you see the role that's perfect for you and you just never quite know when that thing will come to you and you don't have to waste all of your time doing that research. But if you want to, these are the 4 steps to do. And we recommend whichever way you choose, like do it because it results in the freedom to travel the world. And we've talked, we'll continue to talk about the joys of nomad life and travel. And if you are newer to the podcast, definitely check out we talk a lot about just what it's like, the different places we've traveled, the different places we recommend you start traveling as a nomad, all of those things. So really, like, it's about the job because it's a big part of your life and we want you to be happy and find something you love. But we also, here at Beach Commute, like, we like the next step, which is also the freedom to be anywhere in the world while you work. So yeah, any last words on your end, Jeff?
Nope. I think you tied a nice bow on it. And thanks for joining us this week. And we'll see you again next week.